Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that P.T. Barnum helped create one of the most famous circuses in history? Learn that at the age of 25, Barnum owned a store and a newspaper, and later opened Barnum's American Museum in New York City. Discover that he displayed over 500 curiosities, including wax figures and Fiji the Mermaid, a skeleton of a monkey's head, glued to the skeleton of a fish, and displayed as a mermaid caught off the island of Fiji. Learn that his big top circus grew to include 3 rings, 2 stages, and a track for chariot races that regularly drew 10,000 people. Discover how the movie, The Greatest Showman, is a fictional story inspired by Barnum's life.
You know, when you sit down in a dark theater or you step into a massive stadium, or even just when you open an app on your phone, there's this unspoken contract you're making with the creator.
Right, an expectation.
Exactly. You're basically sitting back, looking at the screen or the stage and demanding, astonish me.
Yeah.
You know, you're trading your time and your money and your attention for a spectacle.
Which is a trade we make, like, every single day without a second thought.
Totally. But what happens when that exact same craving for a circus, that absolute need to see something unbelievable with your own 2 eyes before you actually trust it, what happens when that bleeds out of our entertainment and into our spiritual lives?
And that is the core tension we're looking at today in this deep dive.
Yeah, we are exploring the life of P.T. Barnum, the guy who essentially mapped the DNA of modern entertainment for all of us.
Right, but the text we are analyzing today, it doesn't just recount his history. It takes this incredible story of ambition and illusion and spectacle and uses it as a lens.
A lens to look at our own psychology.
Exactly. It examines this profound psychological and spiritual reality about why we are so obsessed with seeing visual proof and why the things that entertain us might actually be destroying our ability to genuinely trust.
I am so excited to unpack this with you. We are going to look at Barnum's absolute genius for scale, the unbelievably weird oddities he sold to the public, and how he literally built the infrastructure of the modern spectacle.
The whole blueprint.
Right. But more importantly, we are going to explore the argument the text makes at the end. Why Barnum's lifelong business model of providing, visual signs to satisfy human curiosity is the exact opposite of how we build enduring faith.
It's a huge pivot, but it makes so much sense when you see how he operated.
So let's start at the beginning. Long before there were any big top tents or elephants, there was just a kid in Connecticut. Phineas Taylor Barnum was born on July 5, 1810, in Bethel.
Bethel, Connecticut, right.
And the defining characteristic from day one is his relentless ambition. I mean, at just 12 years old, he's out there selling snacks and refreshments to soldiers.
Which is wild.
Yeah. By the time he's 25, he already owns a general store and his own newspaper.
You really have to think about the mechanics of that kind of acceleration in the early 19th century.
Oh, for sure. Things moved so much slower back then.
Exactly. He isn't slowly working his way through an apprenticeship or climbing some traditional societal ladder. He is building his own infrastructure from the ground up.
Right.
He finds an audience, whether it's soldiers needing a snack or locals wanting news, and he immediately figures out the supply chain to give them exactly what they want to consume.
Which actually makes me want to push back a little on the romanticized kind of Hollywood version of him.
The top hat and the magic tricks.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at his early years, I don't see a whimsical guy in a top hat just wanting to make children smile. I see a modern-day tech founder.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
Well, Barnum wasn't just a performer on a stage, right? He was building platforms. He was monetizing human attention from the time he was a child.
Building the audience?
Yes. So I have to ask, was Barnum actually a natural entertainer who wanted to bring joy to the masses, or was he just a ruthless opportunist who realized early on that human attention was the ultimate, most easily exploitable currency?
I mean, it is entirely possible he was both, but the opportunist side is undeniable.
Right.
To defend the entertainer side for just a second, he did democratize amusement. Because before Barnum, high-end entertainment was really just for the wealthy elite.
Oh, that's true. Opera and theater.
Right. Barnum brought wonder to the working class.
Right.
But your tech founder analogy is spot on, and you see that opportunistic drive fully crystallize in 1841.
When he moves to downtown Manhattan.
Exactly. He moves to Manhattan and opens Barnum's American Museum. And just calling it a museum is a brilliant marketing mechanism.
Because it sounds fancy.
Yes, it gives an air of educational legitimacy to what is fundamentally a palace of absolute sensory overload.
And sensory overload doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, for 23 years, he fills this building with more than 500 historical artifacts.
Just packed to the ceiling.
Right, but it's not a dusty academic hall at all. He brings in living human and animal curiosities. He introduces the very first wax figures in the United States.
Which blew people's minds.
And he builds the first American aquarium. Like, to put that in perspective, imagine being a New Yorker in the 1840s.
Muddy streets, very local life.
Yeah, life is largely drab and hyper-local, and suddenly you pay a small fee and step into this massive building filled with exotic fish from across the world and lifelike wax sculptures.
It's the equivalent of putting on a virtual reality headset for the very first time.
Oh, I love that.
He was offering the entire world inside a single box. But, the vulnerability of building a massive physical destination is that it exists in the physical world.
And physical things can be destroyed.
Exactly. In 1865, a furnace fire breaks out in the building. The museum just burns to the ground.
It's awful.
Barnum loses almost all of those 500 displays, and tragically, nearly all of his animals die in the blaze.
It's total destruction. You spend over 2 decades building the ultimate entertainment monopoly in New York, and it's wiped out in a single afternoon.
Just gone.
That kind of devastating loss would force most people into retirement, right? But Barnum takes the ashes of that stationary museum and completely pivots. He realizes that if people won't come to his building, he's just going to take the building to the people.
And that pivot introduces the logistical miracle that becomes Barnum and Bailey's greatest show on earth.
After he partners with James Bailey, right?
Well, it's James Bailey. And when we talk about a traveling circus, we really have to grasp the sheer, unprecedented scale they achieved.
It wasn't just a tent.
Not at all. They engineered a massive canvas city. It housed 3 rings operating simultaneously, 2 separate stages, and an outer track specifically built for chariot races.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. 3 rings, 2 stages, and chariot races happening at the exact same time. Where is the audience even supposed to look?
They're supposed to look everywhere. That is the genius of the mechanism.
Oh, I see.
Because if you give the human brain a single focal point, it might get bored or it might start analyzing the flaws in the act.
It starts thinking too much.
Exactly. But if you overwhelm the senses with constant motion and color and noise across a massive arena, the critical thinking part of the brain shuts down and pure awe takes over.
Wow.
And the logistics required to maintain that awe were just staggering. They were drawing 10,000 people for an afternoon performance.
10,000?
Yes, and then resetting and drawing another 10,000 for the evening.
In a single day?
Every day.
Yeah.
They employed over 1,000 people just to keep the machine running. They put the entire operation on railroad cars and traveled the globe. They famously even set up and performed for England's Queen Victoria.
And what fascinates me is that they weren't just relying on acrobats and clowns. Barnum understood that progress itself is a spectacle.
Definitely.
He utilized the absolute cutting-edge technology of his era to draw crowds. I mean, he incorporated electricity into the show.
Which was so rare.
Right. In a world where the average person was still lighting their home with an oil lamp or a candle, Barnum was flooding these massive tents with electric light. It must have looked like pure magic.
He was selling the future.
Yeah, he featured safety bicycles, early automobiles, and even early films. He wasn't just showing people the bizarre. He was giving them a front row seat to the future.
He essentially weaponized innovation. He folded the bleeding edge of human invention right into the culture of the circus.
Establishing this massive brand.
Right, a brand of family entertainment that dominated the nation and inspired fierce rivals like the Ringling Brothers.
This skeleton of a monkey's head literally glued to the skeleton of a fish.
It's the ultimate fabricated sign. He manufactured a myth from scratch, and he did the exact same thing with living people.
Like Jojo the dog-faced boy.
Exactly. Take Jojo. This is a 16-year-old boy born with a medical condition called hypertrichosis, which causes hair to grow over the entire face.
Right.
Barnum knew that presenting a sad medical reality wouldn't sell tickets, so he completely fabricated a backstory. He told audiences the boy was a wild animal, tracked and captured by a hunter in the woods.
Oh, it's just dark.
And to sell the illusion, he instructed the teenager to bark and growl like a dog for the crowds.
It's just a masterclass in manipulation. Then there is General Tom Thumb.
Right, Charles Sherwood Stratton.
Yeah, Barnum meets him in 1842 when the boy is just 4 years old. He weighs 15 pounds and stands 25 inches tall. Barnum trains him to sing, dance, and perform, and turns him into this global phenomenon.
And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum with scale.
Jumbo the elephant. Imported from London in 1882, Jumbo was 11.5 feet tall and weighed 6.5 tons. He was an absolute sensation until his accidental death by a train strike in 1885.
Such a sad ending.
It really is. But looking at the Fiji mermaid and the fabricated backstories like JoJo, I'm really struggling to understand the mindset of the audience.
What do you mean?
Like, did a guy walking off the street in the 1850s genuinely believe a monkey skull glued to a fish was a real mermaid? Or did they know it was a scam and just wanted to go along for the ride? Were they complicit in the deception just to have fun?
That is a brilliant question about 19th century psychology. The truth is, it's a mix of both, driven by a culture of what they call the humbug.
The humbug.
Yeah. Barnum often leaked stories to the press, questioning the authenticity of his own exhibits before they even opened.
Wait, he called out his own fakes?
Yes. He manufactured controversy. So people weren't just paying to see a mermaid, they were paying for the right to debate whether it was real or fake.
Oh, that's so smart.
The desire to participate in the cultural moment, to see the unbelievable, completely overrides the brain's critical thinking. Barnum became one of the wealthiest men in America by capitalizing on that exact loophole in human psychology.
But there's a ceiling to getting rich off fake mermaids and barking teenagers, right?
Oh, definitely.
By the 1850s, Barnum has all the money in the world, but he realizes he's mostly viewed as a huckster. He lacks true high society respectability. He can't buy cultural legitimacy with circus tickets.
So he engineers this massive pivot to prestige. He needs the upper class to take him seriously, which means he has to offer them something undeniable.
Enter the Swedish Nightingale.
Yes.
From 1850 to 1852, Barnum totally rebrands his image by pivoting to high culture. He brings the European singing sensation Jenny Lind to perform 150 shows across the United States and Canada.
Think about how jarring that is.
Yeah, the guy famous for the glued-together monkey is suddenly promoting a world-class opera vocalist. It's like a controversial reality TV producer suddenly financing a high-art ballet just to get invited to the right dinner parties.
That is exactly what it was. And the mechanism of his marketing remained exactly the same. He just changed the product.
Oh, so?
He whipped the American public into a frenzy for Lind before she even arrived. He auctioned off the first tickets to create immense scarcity and hype.
Supply and demand.
And it worked flawlessly. He earned more than $500,000 from promoting Lind.
Wow, in the 1850s.
Yes, an astronomical fortune at the time. And he successfully reformed his public image into that of a serious impresario.
It's fascinating because that respectability bled into his personal life, too. Outside the tent, he wasn't just a ringmaster. He was married to his childhood sweetheart, Charity Hallett, for 44 years. They had 4 daughters. He engaged heavily in civic duty, serving as a Connecticut legislator and even as the mayor of Bridgeport. The man lived a massive, multifaceted life until his death on April 7, 1890.
His legacy, of course, outlived him by over a century. After his death, the circus was purchased by its rival, the Ringling Brothers.
Right, they merged.
Yes, they merged in 1919 to become the Ringling Bros and Barnum Bailey Circus. And they entertained millions of families until changing cultural tastes and economics led to its final performance on May 21st, 2017.
Which is incredibly poetic because 2017 is the exact same year the fictionalized movie musical about his life, The Greatest Showman, hits theaters.
That's true.
The physical tent comes down and the digital cinematic spectacle immediately takes its place. Barnum spent his entire life touring internationally with museums, caravans, menageries, and hippodromes. His whole existence was dedicated to one premise, giving people incredible things to look at.
And this brings us to the profound pivot in our source material.
Yes, the big takeaway.
The text uses this sweeping history of Barnum's life to set up a powerful critique of human nature. Barnum proved beyond a doubt that humanity loves to look at amazing things. We crave the visual thrill.
We want to be astonished.
But the text draws a stark line, arguing that there is a massive danger when we take the mindset of the circus audience and apply it to our spiritual lives.
The argument the text makes is that while the circus is fun and entertaining, our spiritual lives just cannot be sustained by demanding spectacles. We have to seek the gifts of the Spirit, rather than seeking signs just to satisfy our curiosity.
And the source points directly to a verse in the scriptures to illustrate this trap. In Alma chapter 32, verse 17, it says, "Yea, there are many who do say, If thou wilt show unto us a sign from heaven, then we shall know of a surety then we shall believe.
Show us a sign, and then we will believe. I mean, that is literally the transaction Barnum perfected. Pay a quarter, look at the giant elephant, and then you'll believe my story.
It is exactly the same dynamic.
Yeah.
The text's argument is that Barnum built an empire by showing people a physical sign, a mermaid, a wax figure, a light bulb, to force their belief. He provided the visual proof, and they gave him their trust.
Right.
But the fatal flaw in that system is the vulnerability of the physical world. The museum burns to the ground.
The giant elephant is killed by a train.
The circus eventually goes bankrupt and closes its doors. Every physical sign will eventually fade or burn or end.
So the warning here is that if you build your faith on the condition of needing to see a spectacle, your faith is going to collapse the second the show is over.
Exactly.
Treating God like P.T. Barnum, demanding that heaven astonish you, entertain you, and give you fireworks before you offer your trust, it completely destroys the actual mechanism of genuine faith. Trust isn't about being overwhelmed by a three-ring circus so your critical thinking shuts down.
No, not at all.
Trust is sustained by quiet, unseen things. Which leads to a vital question the text asks. I won't pose this directly to you, the listener. In what ways does the Holy Spirit sustain your faith and allow you to trust in God?
It's a challenging question because it requires us to look away from the center ring. The source material argues that the true gifts of the Spirit, things like peace, patience, and quiet internal revelation, they cannot be put on a poster.
You can't sell a ticket for peace.
Exactly. You can't charge admission for them. But unlike the canvas tent or the wax figures, they are the only things that remain standing when the fires come or the show ends.
So let's trace the arc of what we've unpacked today. We started in Connecticut with a 12-year-old boy building a supply chain for snacks.
Right.
We watched him pioneer the modern platform of human attention, building a museum of sensory overload, losing it all in a massive fire, and then engineering a logistical miracle with the greatest traveling spectacle the world had ever seen.
All to capture attention.
He used electric lights, fabricated backstories, and sheer scale to prove that humans will always line up to see a sign. But the source material takes that history and delivers a brilliant realization. The business model of constant entertainment is a terrible blueprint for the human soul.
It really is.
The quiet gifts of the Spirit have to sustain us because demanding signs and wonders just turns our spiritual life into a fleeting circus.
Which leaves us with one final, kind of uncomfortable thought to consider.
Okay, what is it?
P.T. Barnum didn't just invent a circus, he rewired the culture. He helped train the modern world to constantly expect larger-than-life spectacles and instant visual gratification.
Oh, yeah.
Since you and I now live in a society completely dominated by his model of constant, overwhelming entertainment in our pockets and on our screens, how much harder, and therefore how much more essential, is it for you to intentionally turn away from the circus of everyday life to quietly listen?
We sign that contract for entertainment every single day. We look at the screen and demand to be astonished. But maybe real peace begins when we stop demanding the universe to put on a show for us and start learning how to build trust without needing to see the elephant. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you take a moment today to consider that for yourself. Until next time. Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.